What is going on, Halo fans? Welcome to Gamer Gains, the channel that inspires gamers to get fit. Today I have another Halo commentary for you as we explore a brief history of Halo's vehicles, talk about what worked, what didn't, and what we can expect or hope to see moving forward to Halo Infinite. Stay tuned. Thanks so much for joining me today as we discuss Halo's vehicle sandbox. Real quick, I want to give a shout out to all my subscribers for being so supportive as we've grown this community together. Let's keep that momentum going and get to 500 subscribers. So, vehicles have been a cornerstone of Halo since the beginning. From the earliest missions in Halo CE when you explore the ring with a Warthog, to flying the Hornets in the Covenant mission in Halo 3, so many of Halo's quintessential moments in story and gameplay have been defined by vehicles. And this is extremely evident in the multiplayer too, and Halo has always had this edge compared to other games and first-person shooters. In my opinion, the only other game to rival Halo's vehicle sandbox would be the Battlefield series. So let's hop into the Falcon, or strap into a Warthog, and let's get right into this. For me, Halo was at its best when you load up into a Warthog with some buddies and go driving around the map. Growing up playing Halo were some of the fondest memories I have, and other games like Call of Duty didn't fulfill the same experience quite like Halo did. I've come to realize how important Halo's vehicles are to its experience and sandbox, but more specifically, how vehicles bring players together as a gameplay element. This video's premise was inspired by the Halo YouTuber Faven. He explores how Halo's sandbox has evolved over time and how these elements and tools given to a player are what gives it its winning formula. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description below. So continuing on, the Warthog, being a symbol of Halo, is critical to the Halo multiplayer formula. Whether you load up in a hog with your teammates or you team up to take down an enemy hog, the Warthog is a gameplay element that brings people together. Like I mentioned, with Call of Duty, you basically play the game in your own little world, running around the map, shoot, die, repeat, with little to no emphasis or care on teamwork or socializing within this formula. Also, many of Halo's vehicles serve different uses when you add players to them. The Warthog and Falcon, for example, are purely transport if occupied by only one player. But it's when you add a second or third player, you can become an offensive unit that can take down enemy players and complete game objectives. However, in more recent titles, there have been a de-emphasis in teamwork-based vehicles, which brings me to my next topic of vehicle balance and why it's critical for Halo's sandbox. Thinking back to all the versions of the Halo Warthog, the Halo 3 Warthog is my personal favorite in multiplayer. The Halo 3 Warthog had a great balance and felt just powerful enough. A skilled driver and gunner combo could dominate a map, but the vehicle's maneuverability was limited, and it was still a big target that could be picked off by plasma grenades, rockets, and Spartan lasers. Moving on to the later games such as Halo 4 and 5, the Warthog saw a significant drop in its overall power. With sprint as a base mechanic available to all players, and the thrust mechanic in Halo 5, vehicles became slower relative to base player movement, therefore making them easier to evade and less effective. It's clear that Halo 5's vehicles were designed for Warzone's Req Packs and not a traditional big team battle format. This can be seen from the abundance of the one-man killing machines such as the Wasp and Phaeton. These vehicle design choices were clearly driven by the incentive to sell more Req Packs to promote a gameplay loop akin to that mindlessness of Call of Duty like I discussed earlier, instead of creating a fun and balanced game element. And don't get me wrong, I've had a lot of fun in Warzone flying around in a Wasp or Banshee Ultra, but it's not quite the same experience when compared to vehicles that you and your friends can interact with. And there is a place for these one-man killing machines, but it's important to include both types of these vehicles in the sandbox. Moving forward to Halo Infinite, I have a lot of hope that we will see a wide variety of vehicles, with fan favorites returning and some welcome additions. I really like that 343 has embraced the positive response to Halo Wars 2, and they're clearly taking a lot of inspiration from that game, with the Banished being the main enemy for Halo Infinite. And with this, 343 has a huge opportunity to include lots of those Halo Wars vehicles that players have been dying to get their hands on in first person since Halo Wars 1. With the recent updates to the Master Chief Collection, 343 has proven to us that they are listening to feedback and truly making these games full of things that fans have always wanted to see. For example, they added the Saber into Halo Reach Forge World, as well as the Anti-Air Wraith into Halo 3. So from the recent bits of Halo Infinite news we have gotten, we know very little about which vehicles are confirmed. We do know that the Warthog, Pelican, Wasp, and Chopper will be making a comeback. Also, from the Mega Construct sets, we have seen new vehicles like the Brute Skiff shown here. It's unconfirmed whether this will be a drivable vehicle, but I like the looks of it as it has multiple seats for many players to pile in for a bunch of shenanigans. While also unconfirmed, the inclusion of the Banished leaves me hopeful to see some of the Banished vehicles from Halo Wars 2, as well as some of the UNSC units. I've always wanted to pilot a Wolverine, and it would be a good UNSC equivalent of the Anti-Air Wraith, which is likely to return from the multiplayer in Halo 5. Maybe they could implement the social aspect like I discussed before into this vehicle, and have a dedicated driver and a secondary gunner in the Wolverine. And depending on the large-scale game modes presented in Infinite, I would love to see Uber units make an appearance in Halo multiplayer, such as the UNSC Vulture or an entire Scarab tank. Whether they are drivable vehicles or not, I can see tons of possibilities using these assets in some sort of way in like a huge 20 versus 20 attack and defend game mode, kind of like Invasion on steroids, where maybe one team has to escort or defend their Uber unit to a certain objective. Maybe you have a team of Spartans assaulting a Covenant base and they have to escort a slowly moving Vulture with a payload or something like that. I think the recent Star Wars Battlefront 2 game did a similar game mode to this with the AT-ATs, but I remember that it kind of fell flat, so these are all just ideas. With the power of the Xbox Series X, I wouldn't be surprised if 343 are able to increase the max player count from the current 24 to somewhere around 40. Having been a fan of the Battlefield series for a long time, I always loved how large scale the battles were and that you could see some really cool action set pieces in nearly every multiplayer game that you played. Whatever 343 ends up doing with the game, it seems like they are going to be pushing out many updates as time goes on, especially with the recent announcement of free-to-play multiplayer. Even if the game modes that 343 makes will suck, then I can only hope that they at least give players the freedom of customization with a killer forge and custom game system. The more tools and sandbox elements given to players, the better. So, what kinds of vehicles do you think we'll see in Halo Infinite? Leave a comment down below if you enjoyed this video and consider subscribing. If you want to see me suffer through Halo 2 on Legendary, you can click on this video here, and if you want to see my latest Halo Infinite video, check out this one. That's all for today, and I'll see you in the next one.